Another Saturday, another Figma tutorial. I sort of forgot about this last week, but I'm trying to do a weekly tutorial, so this is the third video. If you've seen the first video, it was about creating a modal component, and then in this video we would end up with this component. The second video was about setting up styles. So in this video, second video, we set up different styles. Let's see, the styles are actually here on the right side, heading 1, body 1, and then some color styles. So in this new video, we're going to make a copy of this setting up styles, and we're going to work on learning some Figma shortcuts. So this tutorial is going to be about keyboard shortcuts. I prepared this a little bit, but I'm going to show you how you can use several keyboard shortcuts to work faster. And I'm going to do it in the process of actually doing some work. So I'm going to use this app called KeyCaster to show you the keyboard shortcuts I'm using. But I will also mention them when I use them and try to make something useful. For me, the goal is to move what we're making here to a sensible web application user interface. So the first thing I'm noticing if I'm looking at this is that we don't really have inputs yet, which we're gonna need. So I'm going to create a new artboard with A. So that's A, shortcut A, to create a new artboard. You can also use the shortcut F. That's F for a frame. Now I'm going to hit Command R to rename this frame to inputs. I hit Enter to confirm my choice. And now what I want to do is start with R for a rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle that's 36 pixels tall. I'm just going to back reference what I did with the button. So that's 36 pixels. So I want the same for my input. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit Shift X to swap the stroke and the fill. So if I hit Shift X, which shows up as X here, but that's Shift plus X, so uppercase X, I'm going to swap the stroke and the fill. I'm going to give this a border radius, and I'm going to continue with my input component here by pressing T for text layer. I press click on the canvas area, and I'm going to type out what I want to do, which is to make a placeholder text. I'm going to hit 5 for opacity 50%, so you can use the number keys to quickly adjust opacity. And then what I'm gonna do is press Command G to group these together. Now I want to make sure that this text is in the middle of this input. It's vertically centered, so that's one thing. To be entirely safe, I could drag it out and then make sure that it's centered. Somehow I added the second line here, which shouldn't be the case. Now I'm gonna press Option to see how far it is from the sides. But because this is a group, it doesn't work. I'm gonna change the group into a frame, so I can see how far the text layer is from the side by holding Option. Then I'm going to rename this layer to Input. I'm gonna also already call it input/placeholder, and then I'm gonna press Option Command K to make it a component. I'm gonna drag the input out. I'm going to press Option Command B to make a variant of this, which will be the filled variant. I'm gonna make this text layer say value. Now I'm gonna make it that 100% of the opacity. Going to make this a component once again. Now it's important to rename this layer to be the exact same text. And then I'm going to combine these as variants. So now I have a form field which I can use together with my button to start creating forms. And in the process I used a bunch of shortcuts. I'm now going to create a sample form, and then I'm gonna teach you a little bit about alignment. So here, I'm going to drag this into my modal component, maybe not here because that's my actual component. I'm gonna do it on the screen that's here, and maybe I should do a bit of cleaning up, because these two artboards, they are not components, they are screen designs. This as well, and this part of the artboards, this left side, that's my components. So I'm moving it out a little bit, so I know that if I'm working here on the right side, I'm actually not making components, but I'm compositing the screens together. So what I'm gonna do is try and create a bit of a sample form here, and in the process show you how I use Figma's tools to align things properly. So first thing I'm gonna do is make a new text layer and add a label. This could also be a component if you wanted it to. Actually, that's a good idea to already make it a component. So I'm going to make a component out of the label. I'm going to give it a default height of 28 pixels. I'm going to move the text to be vertically centered. That's option V. And then I'm going to make sure that it's the exact same width by default as an input. So the input that I have is 160 pixels. So I'm also going to make the label 160 pixels. And the reason that this works is because, or that you want to do this, is just to make it easy to create forms by drag and dropping your components. So you have this and you have this, and it's the exact same width. Now that I see this here, I see that we don't have a fill color yet on the input, so I'm going to add a white fill color to both of these inputs. Alright, so let's move back to our form. And here I'm now going to create a little bit of a form. It's going to be quite generic because it's just about Figma, learning Figma, and not yet about like solving a sort of design problem. I'm noticing if I drag out the width of this that it doesn't really affect the box. So I'm going to go back to my component, and I'm going to fix that by changing the constraint to left and right, top and bottom. What I'm doing to get to this inner layer is that I'm command clicking. That's very important. That's a deep selection, so I'm using command plus click to get to this deeper layer. So if I just click this, I'm going to select input, but if I command click, I'm going to select this deeper layer, which I'm also going to change the constraints on here. So going back to my design, I see that the constraint is fixed now. So I also see that the total height of input plus label is 64 pixels. So maybe I'm going to group these, and I'm going to make it a frame and call it form group. I can't really see it anymore because the KeyCaster is on the way, so I'm going to move this up a little bit. So we have form group here. I don't like making components from form groups. I like to keep my components as flat as possible. So what I'm going to do now is drag this out and create a second form group. And this is a super important Figma move, just to be able to grab something and to duplicate it. So if you're on a Mac, that's Option, you hold Option, and then the deep click that I was talking about, that's Command plus click. That's what you're doing. You hold Command and then you click, and then you have the deeper layer selected. I'm gonna end it here, I think, because this tutorial is already running quite some minutes. So they're supposed to be short, so I'm gonna stop here, and then next time I think we'll continue building out this form with a checkbox and radio button.